Chapter 38, Annabeth. The most insulting part? The Draken was easily the most beautiful thing Annabeth had seen since she'd fallen into Tartarus. Its hide was dappled green and yellow, like sunlight through a forest canopy. Its reptilian eyes were Annabeth's favorite shade of sea green, just like Percy's. When its frills unfurled around its head, Annabeth couldn't help but think what a regal and amazing monster was about to kill her. It was easily as long as a subway train. Its massive talons dug into the mud and pulled itself forward, its tail whipping from side to side. The Draken hissed, spitting jets of green poison that smoked on the mossy ground and set the tar pits on fire, filling the air with the scent of fresh pine and ginger. The monster even smelled good. Like most Drakens, it was wingless, longer and more snake-like than a dragon, and it looked hungry. "Bob," Annabeth said, "what are we facing here?"
"Maeonian Draken," Bob said. "From Maeonia."
More helpful information. Annabeth would have smacked Bob upside the head with his own broom if she could lift it. "Any way we can kill it?"
"Us?"
Bob said.
"No."
The Draken roared as if to accentuate the point, filling the air with more ginger pine poison, which would have made an excellent car freshener scent. "Get Percy to safety," Annabeth said. "I'll distract it." She had no idea how she'd do that, but it was still her only choice. She couldn't let Percy die, not if she still had the strength to stand.
"You don't have to," Bob said. "Any minute."
Roar! Annabeth turned as a giant emerged from his hut. He was about 20 feet tall, typical giant height, with a humanoid upper body and scaly reptilian legs, like a bipedal dinosaur. He held no weapon. Instead of armor, he wore only a shirt stitched together from sheep hides and green spotted leather. His skin was cherry red, his beard and hair the color of iron rust, braided with tufts of grass, leaves, and swamp flowers. He shouted and challenged, but thankfully he wasn't looking at Annabeth. Bob pulled her out of the way just as the giant stomped towards the Draken. They clashed in some sort of weird Christmas combat scene, the verses red and green. The Draken spewed poison. The giant lunged to one side. He grabbed the oak tree and pulled it from the ground, roots and all. The old skull crumbled to dust as the giant hefted the tree like a baseball bat. The Draken's tail lashed around the giant's waist, dragging him closer to its gnashing teeth. But as soon as the giant was in range, he shoved the tree straight down the monster's throat. Annabeth hoped she'd never had to see such a gruesome scene again. The tree pierced the Draken's gullet and impaled it to the ground. The roots began to move, digging deeper and deeper as they touched the earth, anchoring the oak until it looked like it stood up at that spot for centuries. The Draken shook and thrashed, but it was pinned fast. The giant brought down his fist on the Draken's neck. Crack! The monster went limp. It began to dissolve, leaving only scraps of bone, meat, hide, and a new Draken skull, whose open jaws ringed the oak tree. Bob grunted.
"Good one!"
The kitten purred in agreement and started cleaning its paws. The giant kicked at the Draken's remains, examining them critically.
"No good bones,"
he complained.
"I wanted a new walking stick. Some good skin for the outhouse, though."
He ripped through some soft hide of the Dragon's frills and tucked it into his belt. Annabeth wanted to ask if the giant really used Draken hide for toilet paper, but she decided against it. "Bob, do you want to introduce us?"
"Annabeth,"
Bob patted Percy's legs.
"This is Percy."
Annabeth hoped the Titan was just messing with her, though Bob's face revealed nothing. She gritted her teeth. "I mean, the giant. You promised he could help?"
"Promise?"
The giant glanced over from his work. His eyes narrowed under his bushy red brows. A big thing.
"A promise? Why would Bob promise my help?"
Bob shifted his weight. Titans were scary, but Annabeth had never seen one next to a giant before. Compared to the dragon killer, Bob looked downright runty.
"Damson is a good giant," Bob said. "He is peaceful, can cure poisons."
Annabeth watched the giant Damson, who was now ripping chunks of bloody meat from the dragon carcass from his bare hands. "Peaceful," she said. "Yeah, I can see that."
"Good meat for dinner."
Damson stood up straight and studied Annabeth, as if she were another potential source of protein.
"Come inside. We have stew. Then we will see about this promise."